everyone, we are back again, Demons from Outer Space. It is episode 99, one away from 100. Joining me as always. Who the fuck is it? I can't remember. It's disappeared from my mind. Who are you? Why are you here?
99 fucking podcasts, and you can't even remember that your co-host on the Demons from Outer Space is I, Super DM64.
Oh, right. That very pretentious, overly drawn-out name. Right. My bad. Put numbers and shit in it. People always used to be obsessed with putting numbers and shit in their YouTube channel names, but that all disappeared when they were like, oh no, you gotta make a Google Plus account, and that has to be your real name, but I got in there before that was all a thing. So did you. So,
yeah,
you got to put your numbers in there, and then I got to put my weird-ass World of Warcraft name.
You got to have your just retarded crap, and I got to have...
retarded crap, wow. Alright, fine. Want to fucking play it that way? Super DM64? Fine. Imagine if we still called each other that. Like, Super DM64 and Zazubar. Like, that would be It'd be so bizarre. I will jokingly call Andres Perez, a.k.a. Kaiju Noir, when I'm mad at him. Like, if I'm screaming at him. Like, I'll be like, Andres Perez, a.k.a. Kaiju Noir, you get your fucking ass over here, or whatever. I'll say that, but... Otherwise, it's not really a necessary thing to do. I remember when he was showering the first G-Fest, I was screaming upstairs like, Andres Perez, a.k.a. Kaiju Noir, get your ass down here. That's when I said that. So, there were several examples like that. But anyway, that's beside the point. Yep. That's not what we're celebrating on episode 99 of the Demons from Outer Space, the penultimate celebration of a cavalcade of nonsensical podcasts that we've done together. Man, dude, almost 100 we've done. Probably closer to 100. I mean, we've done a lot more videos than that together. So, you know, we're celebrating doing a fuck ton of shit together. Is pretty much what's going on these next 2 weeks. So we have a special thing coming up next week. We'll announce at the end. Don't let me forget to announce the next podcast, because that's a big deal. That's a big celebratory thing. But on this week's episode, we're gonna do a DFOS old favorite. We're going to be going through some bizarre science articles that I found on the internet, which is how we like to spend a lot of our time. So, I've got a whole bunch of shit saved up, so I wanted to get through a lot of it now, because there's like so much, so we might as well in this penultimate celebratory episode. So why don't we just get right into it, D? Do you have any opposition? Do you have any bullshit you want to sprinkle on top? Any porno lists you want to take over the podcast with?
I wish I had another porno list, because that was fun as shit. But no. Let's just let's get sciencey.
So man. do you want to know what the
blind me with some science?
I'll fucking blind you with this. How about a Chilean government releases an unexplainable UFO sighting video? USO. That's cool. That's not what that says. Alright, so I'm seeing the thumbnail. It looks pretty vague. Here, I'll send you the article. You can find the video on your own. It's probably really short. I gotta send this to you on Facebook because you're a child. But, okay. There you go, D. You should see it. So, what do we got going on here? The Chilean government has declassified a video and released a report on an unidentified flying object sighting that occurred over 2 years ago. Oh, so this is fairly recent. You know, usually when it's like, oh, government releases unseen UFOs footage, it's like fucking 45 years ago with like a couple of farmers going, it was a bright light up in the sky and it scorched my hay and now I don't have no hay.
Was that a monkey?
Do farmers sell hay? Like, who buys hay? Like, oh, I need some hay. Dolores, don't we need hay?
No, yeah, you see, people who have horses need to buy hay. Or raise their own hay. So is the entire
hay market dependent upon people who have horses?
I mean, I don't really know what else you use hay for, honestly.
We're not experts in the uses of hay. By the way, this article comes from IFL Science. I fucking love science. It's by Tom Hale, who's got... He looks like a pretty young, hip dude in his profile picture here.
They'll assume that I would know farm things because of my particular method of articulation. But
I didn't assume that. I didn't assume you knew anything about hay. I just threw it out there. But all right, you want to make those assumptions, D? That's fine. That's what you're about. So Anyway, back to the article. The 9-minute video, it's not short, unlike my thought process, was picked up by a Chilean Navy helicopter at an altitude of 1,370 meters, 4,500 feet, along the coast between the port of Okay, so it's on the coast of San Antonio, and this happened on November 11, 2014.
This is fascinating. I didn't even know that Chileans had helicopters.
Guess what? They do. It's a big surprise for everybody. They also have infrared cameras, apparently, because the camera operator of that particular camera on the helicopter detected an unknown object in the distance, which appeared to be flying at a similar speed to the helicopter at around 244 kilometers per hour. That's 152 miles per hour. So, most bizarre of all, the heat-sensitive infrared camera shows the object appearing to thrust out a plume of an unidentified hot material at least twice. They contacted 2 radar stations in an attempt to identify the object, neither of which could find it. Before they knew it, the object vanished into the clouds. All right, do you want to watch the video?
Let's fucking do it. I'm assuming this is it right here on the page.
I'm just gonna scrub through it until I see something that looks like a UFO. Oh, I got it.
What timestamp?
Go to like 46 seconds. That's when the close-up of it is. By the way, if you want to see this yourself, I'm gonna try my best to remember to put it in the link in the description. But if I don't, if it's not in there, or future Bill gets lazy, just look up Chile helicopter UFO full, and then it says see Leslie Kean's article for backstory. Apparently there's another article, so go talk to Leslie Kean if you want any details. So. The first infrared footage I saw, now there's like some color video footage, like normal, not infrared. And it's way further in the distance. But what I saw in the infrared footage was like, it looked like a blimp.
Yeah, kinda. I find this footage vague and unconvincing.
Yeah. It seems to me to be a typical UFO sighting where nothing really happened, but it was kind of weird. And it was probably explained by something that's earthly. Or if it was a UFO, who cares? We don't know. It's just so vague and unconvincing, as you said. I'm a bit
it's probably a fucking weather balloon.
I'm a bit disappointed with that. I want to see if there's any more interesting follow-up. After 2 years of investigation by a team composed of leading scientists and aviation technicians, the CEFAA, a wing of Chile's aviation agency. So they're not close to solving the mystery. That's where I was. And in a statement translated by Google, so this can only go well, they said some analysts have suggested the hypothesis that it is a medium-sized line aircraft, and that the stele, whatever the hell that means, of the detachable element may be the reserve water inside the apparatus thrown by the crew. However, meteorology asserts that neither the altitude at which the object moved nor the ambient temperature of that movement allowed such a wake of condensation. For now, the object remains unidentified, just like UFOs, I guess, should be. I mean, that's in their name after all, ain't it? So yeah, it's pretty much the same bullshit as usual, ain't it, D?
Seems that way, yeah.
I didn't see the hot material that they say was like coming out of the UFO. They're talking about like, it was condensation or something. It was reserve water that was inside the aircraft it was using for something. But it was probably a worldly thing and not extraterrestrial, so who knows. But the government released it because they don't know what it is, but it's pretty okay looking, I guess. I don't know. It didn't wow me either, but I thought that the title was engaging, so that's why I picked it, as I always do. That's enough for me, and it's always fun to tear them apart otherwise. All right,
I'd say it was probably a sturgeon.
All right, D, I've got another alien-related article. Aliens will probably be machines, not little green men, says SETI expert. D, do you know what SETI is?
No, not off the top of my head. I've heard that before, though.
Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Oh.
They are a division of the United States government, and they search for
Maybe
extraterrestrial life.
Maybe they should lower their standards and just look for extraterrestrials.
They don't have to be smart. Like, there's a couple of fucking, like, alien hillbillies on a planet, and they're like, we're here! And they're like, well, they're not really intelligent, so let's just move on, guys. And they're like, oh, man, we had so much moonshine to share. And we're like, fuck, why didn't you guys go and get that? Pieces of shit scientists, fucking pompous fucking pieces of crap.
I mean, if the Earth isn't a barometer for the kind of intelligence that's out there, then... Eesh.
Alright, let's see what the pompous pieces of crap have to say to defend themselves. What might aliens look like? That's a question that's often been pondered, and normally people suggest little green men, giant heads, and so forth. I don't think that's so much the case now. I think these people were living in the 1950s. By the way, this article is by Jonathan O'Callaghan, and this is also on IFL Science. But Seth Shostak, wow, that's quite the name, Seth Shostak. He's got a stack of shows.
It's very similar to Shodzak.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Ernest Shodzak from King Kong. The director of photography on that film. And he's the director of the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute in California. He suggested they might not look very normal at all. In fact, he thinks they might be more like machines, which seems to be a direction the human race is going to. Ooh, this is going to be fucking scary. This is going to be like that fucking... So
the idea is that if they're far more technologically advanced than us, enough so that they could travel to other planets, then they should have already experienced a singularity, and therefore become one with their machinery.
Think what we're going to do in this century, which is invent thinking machines, he said on the show Star Talk, hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. The aliens have probably already done that, so the real aliens probably look like machines. Of course, he does not mean they'll be walking, talking robots. Rather, he's alluding to how, in the not-too-distant future, many roles might be performed autonomously by some form of artificial intelligence. Perhaps further afield, the artificial intelligence is more likely to outlast its biological counterpart and explore the stars itself. The time between having the technology to signal into space and inventing artificial intelligence is only a few centuries, which is incredibly short cosmically speaking. Shostak said to IFL Science via email, "To me, that says that the majority of the intelligence in the universe is synthetic." Shostak had lamented earlier in the show that many UFO sightings always seem to portray aliens in the same way, and there's a lot of them, 10,000 to 20,000 each year. He also said he gets a lot of calls from UFO enthusiasts himself. Oh, and here's a video where he's actually saying these things, if anybody's interested. Again, I'll try to remember to put this in the description. If not, again, IFL Science, aliens will probably be machines, not little green men, says SETI expert. That's the name of the article. What do you think, D?
I think it's entirely possible. I mean...
So the idea is, if I'm not mistaken, that aliens have, in like the past, invented artificial intelligence and machines that perform a lot of tasks for them, just like we're sort of heading in the not-too-distant future. And in the time it's taken to develop interplanetary travel, the biological creatures that invented the artificial intelligence went extinct, and now all that remains of them is the artificial intelligence, and that's all that's left out there to interact with. Is that kind of the idea that you got from it?
That seems to be his hypothesis, yes.
What do you okay, so you think that that's feasible? I mean, obviously I agree. He's a real scientist. What he says is probably more feasible than anything I could think up.
It's entirely feasible. I'm not sure that it's...
Well, would it be satisfying?
I don't know if it's necessarily statistically like in a universe of endless possibilities. That is certainly one scenario. I don't think it would be fair to take that one scenario, however convincing it may be, and say therefore that it must be that way. Oh, it may be that we would encounter beings that were machines, but not necessarily. Like it's a good argument for what might be out there. It doesn't really make an argument for why it would be that rather than the little green men, though. You know what I mean?
So you're saying there's just as likely a possibility that they're machines as that they could be little green men, because we don't fucking know.
Exactly. I mean,
well, yeah,
it's a pretty good argument,
and I think that's kind of his point too.
It's a pretty good argument for his idea, but it doesn't really do a very good job of refuting the other possibilities.
Yeah, and he says, and he doesn't, and at the end, I don't know, he kind of trails off. He doesn't really seem to explain how the sightings connect back to his hypothesis, because if anything, the sightings don't really connect to his hypothesis. I mean, usually when people cite aliens, they report them as organic beings and not machines, except, when they report just the ships up in the sky. Maybe he's saying that because people see ships more than they do organic beings, that's justification in and of itself. Maybe these artificial intelligences are just, flying these ships around and exploring the universe, which, I don't know, that maybe lines up a little more with traditional UFO mythology. Would you agree?
Well, first of all, though, he's assuming that these theoretical aliens took a similar technological development route that we took, and you can't know that.
No, absolutely not. They could have very well taken the opposite approach, and they could function entirely organically. Like, do you remember the Ujong Vong in Star Wars? That was their whole thing, was that they didn't use technology at all. They just used like organic apparatuses, like creatures that performed the same functions as technology. It was very interesting. I loved all that shit.
Yeah.
And they were creatures that were outside of like our galaxy. Not our galaxy, the Star Wars galaxy. It was pretty interesting.
Bit of non-canon goodness, yes.
I think that's something that they could probably bring in the future. Like, that would be a great follow-up trilogy to this one, I think. Because right now...
What if it's already started, Bill? What if Snoke is a Yuzong Vong?
That'd be interesting. I mean, he'd be a Yuzong Vong that's full of shit, because the First Order seems to be very much so about, like, the most modern technology possible, like the Empire was. You know, like, that's one of the things I liked about The Force Awakens was, like, the way the First Order stormtroopers look. They look like a modern approximation of what stormtroopers, how they would have advanced to modern combat standards in the time that has passed between, like, Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. I dug that. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about the shit we were talking about now, though. So, I don't know. You're right. It could be exactly as this guy put it, or this guy could be totally fucking wrong. We will never know. Or will we know? Hopefully one day we'll know.
This was sort of the idea in Day the Earth Stood Still, the original, of course. The only reason Klaatu came to Earth is that they needed somebody who could, like, communicate with the humans. But, like, normally, like, the machines do everything. Like he says, like, they're pretty much their police force, and they've pretty much surrendered all autonomy to this race of machines in order to have peace. So that was the idea there.
He also
that was also the idea of the short story that movie was originally based off of, because the whole thing of that short story is you have this alien and this robot, and the whole time you think the alien is in control of the robot, but then the little reveal at the end is like, aha, no, the robot was the master. So.
Well, he also said that most of the universe is probably populated with synthetic intelligence anyway, which I guess implies that he thinks that you know, that there's mostly like artificial intelligence out there. I don't know what his evidence for that is, if he claims to have evidence. I guess he's saying that, like, everything we've ever seen that could suggest life or extraterrestrial intelligence is like radio signals and shit. Like, recently they got a couple of really bizarre radio signals. I think I have it saved later in here. We'll get to it maybe. I don't remember though. Where they got like a really couple of prominent unexplainable signals that they're like, this could be like a radio signal from another civilization. We just don't know. There's no explanation for it. It could just be star chatter or whatever, which is just like, you know, natural, bizarre radio frequencies that occur in space, with everything that's been sent up there over the years. So interesting, very, very interesting. But again, I don't think you answered my question. Would you be satisfied with this?
I'd be satisfied if we found a fucking yellow monkey on a space station. Like, anything we find is going to
awesome.
be pretty...
Oh, a yellow like, does it have hair, or is it like a yellow scaly monkey? Like, that'd be creepy. I feel like that would be more alien.
I was making a sly reference to Lost in Space, so whatever that one looked like.
Yeah, that was more scaly. I was actually kind of thinking of that too. Wow, it's funny how how our minds paralleled there without thinking directly of the same thing.
But yeah, I mean, anything we find up there is going to be exciting. I mean, even if all we meet is a robot, the fact that there is a robot means that somebody had to build the robot, and therefore intelligent life. Like, you know.
Yeah, I know, man. It's all just a matter of we're gonna have to see one day.
As long as it's not to serve man from the Twilight Zone, then it's a good time. You know, whatever we find. Fucking.
Yeah, I guess if they found an alien computer, I wouldn't be disappointed. Like, oh, I wish we found a little green man. I'd just be like, wow, holy shit, that's fucking crazy. You ever see the movie Batteries Not Included?
I don't know.
That was the most like concerned response I've ever heard. Like, you like you're just so you're scared to if you don't know if you've seen it or not. I'm concerned for you right now.
No, the title rings a bell, but I'm not sure if I've seen it or not.
So it's about a bunch of old people and like poor people living in a fucking tenement building, and a bunch of like UFOs like move in to the top of their tenement building, and it's like a male and female tiny UFO, and they like mate and give birth to like a baby UFO, and they're like flying around the tenement building and shit, and the people are trying to keep the tenement building and have it not be knocked down by like some developer or whatever, and also to keep the UFOs a secret. And that's what this article kind of reminded me of, because those were not traditional aliens. They were intelligent tiny ships that just came from space.
Sounds like a masterpiece.
I remember liking it. I quoted it in a fucking paper I wrote for school once, because I was talking about tenement buildings, and I was like, I saw this movie once, and they didn't look very nice. I was very worldly, wasn't I? So D, let's move on to our next article. Let's move on to our next article. This is another field of study of ours that we always come back to. Prehistoric animals and sharks. Megalodon shark may have died out because it refused to pick on someone its own size. This is also from IFL Science. Let me... I don't think there's like a video or picture or anything, so I'm just going to read this one to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Read me a story, Bill.
I will. When you're the biggest shark that's ever lived, you'd think you'd be pretty confident taking on all comers. But new research reveals that the infamous Carcharocles megalodon, that's their proper Christian name, I presume, preferred to snack on a small whales rather than larger prey. According to the authors of a new study, the massive shark's preference for mere canopies? I don't know what that word is. There's so many words in here, I don't know what they are. I'm so Ben Taub, writer, you're so pretentious. You look like a real pretentious guy too in your profile picture. Whatever these canapes are, they may have led to the megalodon's extinction, as these miniature whales died off around 3 million years ago, leaving megalodons with nothing to eat. The researchers examined bite marks on fossils found off the coast of Peru, where they discovered the remains of some now extinct dwarf whales and sea-like creatures that appeared to be covered in cuts and grazes that fit perfectly with the teeth of the megalodon. Dating back to around 7 million years ago, the skull of one particular specimen contains markings that strongly resemble the biting techniques used by modern great white sharks on seals. So this is all just describing how great whites killed smaller whales. Describing the find in the journal Paleogeography, Paleoclimatology, whole bunch of paleo words that I don't feel like reading. The study authors say this provides clear evidence as to the feeding preferences of megalodons, and allows the first ever identification of a specific species that the shark preyed upon in the form of an ancient miniature whale called Pisoballenia nana. That's a much easier name to say. I love it. Like other similarly diminutive creatures, P. nana lived in warm coastal waters and died off around 3 million years ago, when the onset of a glacial period caused both water temperatures and sea levels to drop. In their place, larger whales that were better adapted to colder waters came to dominate. Given that the megalodon itself became extinct just 400,000 years later, the study authors propose that its inability to tackle these larger whales that moved in after all the dwarf ones went extinct may have been among the major causes of the colossal shark's demise. Megalodon's failure to prey on these whales was probably down to the fact that they were simply too big, coupled with the fact that they tended to migrate long distances to the cold feeding areas around their polar regions where the sharks couldn't follow them. Huh. So D, what do you think? Megalodons went extinct because they were fucking pussies.
That's them's fighting words. Megalodon.
I mean, they're extinct now, so I'm not too concerned. One day I'll be swimming and I'll just hear, "Hey, I heard you were talking shit about my ancestors, you were." And I'm like, what the fuck? And a shark just fucking swallows me whole. That would be a weird moment.
Fucking Bruce from Finding Nemo, apparently.
I hope somebody would capture that on video just to prove that sharks can speak. Like, just for that reason alone. But that's pretty
I heard you
interesting.
call my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaddy a pussy.
It's it's interesting though. I didn't know that. I knew that megalodons were whale killers. You knew that, right?
Yeah, I mean, what else would they eat?
They're kind of famous for the way they kind of killed whales, which was the same way they kill seals. You know, the air jaws kind of thing where they breach up out of the water with them in their mouths. But I guess the way they do that is that they have to be bigger than the whale, so they have to kill smaller whales. They can't do that with bigger ones. So I guess that was the reason. So maybe they weren't so much pussies as just they didn't really know how to change up their shit. Like, they probably could have taken out a bigger whale if they tried. Fucking go for the
Maybe.
throat, son. Just go for the jugular. Just go for the nuts, too. That's what you gotta go for.
Kick that whale right in the dick.
Yeah, just slap him right in his dick with your fucking tail. Just bite off the fucking whale's dick. Like, it would be so fucked up that it would just die of shock. Like, oh my god, that shark ate my dick. That would be enough to kill it. So, I think all of these different things could have led to the megalodon existing to this very day if they would have just stopped being pussies and just eaten whale dick. So D, why don't we move on to the...
Megalodon. Shape up Megalodon, you know. Go to the gym, you know. Do some lifts. I know what you're thinking. You're like, I don't want to eat a whale's dick. I hear they're kind of moby. Well, fucking do it anyway, bitch. Go out there and do it.
Alright, so I've got another shark article. This is on... I don't know. This is on some other website. Aussie.com? I don't know. Sounds reliable.
My God, you got two websites. Now we're professional.
The day we went shark fishing in our underwear. Oh, by Wayne D. McFarland. Wow.
Is this a science article or a story?
This is more like a story, but I'm sure it has fucking scientific implications. I want to see what they caught.
Do you vet these at all?
Do I vet them? I mean,
Yeah.
I skip some of them based on the titles, but I don't read them. I read them when I look at them. Hang on, I'm just skimming this to see if I can find out what they caught. I've already skipped most of it.
They didn't catch anything except like a cold. This is gonna be pretty shitty.
They never even describe it. Yeah, that was a shit article. I'm so pissed. Fuck that. Alright, fuck that. I've got another article. New species, the ruby sea dragon, discovered by researchers. This is on phys.org. Whatever the hell that means. Alright, I'm going to send you this one because there's a picture. This thing looks pretty fucking weird. What? You cut out there for a second.
Sorry, I had muted my mic because I had to readjust.
I see. Well, here's this weird looking fucking seahorse. It looks like a fucking skeleton seahorse, like a Ghost Rider seahorse. So, while researching the two known species of sea dragons as part of an effort to understand and protect the exotic and delicate fish, scientists at Scripps Institution of Oceanography at UC San Diego made a startling discovery. A third species of sea dragon. Whoa! Using DNA and anatomical research tools, Scripps graduate Josephine Stiller and marine biologist Nerida Wilson of the Western Australian Museum and Greg Rouse blah 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 bullshit fucking titles and shit. They found evidence for the new species while analyzing tissue samples supplied by Wham! The band, presumably. The researchers...
Look at George Michael showing up with seahorse samples. That's what he did in his spare time.
Careless Seahorse!
Man was a treasure when he wasn't doing some mad saxophone. He was helping the scientific community in any way he could.
He was also getting arrested for driving under the influence of marijuana. Don't do that, kids. It's not good for you.
Specifically marine biology, apparently.
Yeah, he was driving a boat at the time. He was looking for seahorses, and he just happened to be fucked up. The researchers then requested the full specimen as well as photographs taken just after it was retrieved from the wild in 2007. Okay, so it seems like they caught one of these things all the way back in 2007, so 10 years ago. Man, D, 2007 was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They were further surprised by the appearance... my headphones are fucking... I'm sorry, people listening to this. I know you can hear that. My bad. It keeps happening. Alright, I'm going to have to take out my headphones. This sucks. Hang on. D, I just gotta set this up just so you're not going to echo. because I have to take my headphones out.
Do you have another pair of headphones?
I don't think so, actually. Let me see. I'll look real quick. Oh, wait. Maybe these will work. Let's see. These look funky, though. Play that funky music, white boy. When I was a kid, me and my brother always used to get a kick out of singing that as, play that fucking music, white boy. My parents used to get so mad. It was hilarious. I loved it. Speak, Dylan.
Hi. I didn't hear any echo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you. Speak again.
Fuck.
Yeah, no, those did not work. Are you echoing?
Not at the moment.
Okay, let me know if you do.
So
I'll just.
maybe we're good.
It shouldn't happen. I mean, my microphone is literally in front.
Wait. I do have somewhat of an echo.
Oh man! All right, hang on. I can fix this. I can do this. Is it still there?
Okay, I'm not hearing it now.
All right. If not, I'll put my microphone on a separate table, and that'll theoretically fix the problem. Anyways, let's get back into it then. I'll talk directly into it instead. I'll get right up close and personal with you kids.
Fucking NPR.
So they were further surprised by the appearance of the newly identified animal. They found this thing in 2007. George Michaels found it. And they only identified it this year as a new species through DNA analysis. This wasn't like that chimera thing we talked about a few weeks ago, where it was like, oh my god, look, it's beautiful, floating in the sea. I'm filming it. Woo! This was like, hey, this blood is weird.
They're like, hey, we've had this like fucked up red seahorse for a while. I think it might be a different kind of seahorse.
Yeah, George Michaels found it like 10 years ago, and now he's dead, so we looked at it again just because we thought it was fucked up, and we think it might be a weird kind of new seahorse.
We're going to call it a dragon. We have boring lives.
We're going to call it the Careless Dragon. Oh, no, the Ruby Sea Dragon. Yeah, fine. That's the official name, but we're going to call it the Careless Dragon. The Whispering Dragon.
It's never going to dance again.
Stiller identified the original ruby sea dragon, a male carrying several dozen babies, a part of her graduate research on population genetics of the two known sea dragons across the Australian coast. So now they're talking about when they actually caught it. Sea dragons are found exclusively off southern Australia. She studies migration patterns and genetic diversity to help bolster sea dragon conservation efforts. There's a whole bunch of pictures of different kinds of sea dragons down there. The other ones look more like normal seahorses. This one looks like a fucked up, again, like Ghost Rider seahorse.
Whenever I hear of a scientist who devoted their lives to a certain type of animal, I always wonder what made them choose that animal, especially when it's something like obscure, like sea dragon.
Something that exclusively lives off the coast of southern Australia. There's only 2 species of it, and boom, you found the third one. So I guess they picked the right species to get the recognition, right?
They were like, there's only 2 species of these so far. There's got to be more. This is a growth market. I got to get in on it now.
All right, D, let's move on to another animal-themed article. Tortoise gets a set of wheels after injuring legs having sex.
Oh. All right.
Oh my God, you got to see a picture of this.
God,
it's literally like fucking lawnmower wheels tied to the back of a big-ass tortoise. Oh, I can't wait to find out what happened. Here, I'm sending you the article.
Please tell me this is the sequel to Soul Surfer.
What? That had nothing to do with tortoises or sex or wheels. You literally just pulled that out of nowhere.
No, but it had a lot to do with losing limbs.
Oh, I guess.
Maybe it would be a better spinoff of the Dolphin Tale franchise.
Yeah, it would be a good sidequel to that. Oh man, this is pretentious ass Ben Taub again. I fucking hate that guy.
Call it Turtle Wheels.
All right, it's a short article. I can deal with Ben Taub for 3 paragraphs. A 22-year-old African spurred tortoise has been fitted with a snappy set of wheels after developing early-onset arthritis in his back legs as a result of overextending himself while taking part in a breeding program. Oh, so man, he was like, I want to be paid money to get fucking laid, son. And he was just fucking all the ladies that the scientists could throw at him, like, here you go, man. Here's just all the pussy you can fucking take. And he's like, yeah, baby. And then he just fucking, like, cracked his knees just from fucking thrusting over and over again.
Overextending himself. Oh, my.
Yeah, no, he's got a lot of reach, man. Bert, or maybe he's trying too hard because he doesn't have enough reach. Ooh.
Oh, my.
Bert, the 100-kilogram, 220-pound reptile, participated in the program.
Bert.
Yeah, I love the name.
Great.
Hey, Bert. Hey, Bert. You hurt your legs having sex, Bert. That's pretty sad. What the fuck do you want from me, Ernie?
Gonna fuck some more turtle bitches today, Bert?
You know I can't do that anymore, Ernie. You piece of shit.
Gonna go knocking shells there, Bert?
You fucking insensitive cunt. I like the idea of Bernie being of Bert. Bernie, I mixed their names together. Of Bert being this fucking just like aggressive, cursy fucking like almost Long Island housewife who just screams and curses at, his housemate. What do you think? What do you think of my characterization of Bert, D?
Eventually, Ernie said enough. He's like, "Hey, Bert," and then Bert's like,
"What
Ernie?
the fuck
Bert?
do you want from me, Ernie?"
And then Ernie just like squints and he's like, "Your dick don't work, Bert."
Oh, Ernie, how could you rip out my heart and stamp on it like this? You know I'm sensitive about my dick and my wheels. I thought it was enough for you.
What are you gonna do? Chase me, Bert?
Oh, Ernie. How could you do this to me?
Bolt over here, Bert.
Please, Ernie, go downhill so that way I can follow you. I have to follow you, Ernie. He's just dragging
I thought you were slow
along.
before, eh, Bert?
Oh, Ernie. You always know how to break my heart. Anyway, so Bert, the tortoise now, not the Muppet. He participated for the program in 2 months back in 2011. Oh, fucking a week, man. Only 2 months. During which time he sired an unknown number of offspring, with up to 5 different females. All right, that's quite that's quite the group. That's quite the harem. However, when the fun was over and he returned home to the secret animal garden at the Dinosaur Adventure Park in England, damn, he's got a badass fucking pad too. His keepers noticed severe swelling in his hind legs. No, man, that was just his dick. There was no injury, these fucking silly-ass scientists. This severely restricted Bert's movements and curtailed his quality of life. It later transpired that he had developed arthritis, which surprised vets, as African spurred tortoises, which can live up to 80 years, don't normally suffer from the condition until they're at least 30. How old was he again? 22. All right, so he's close enough. I mean, come on, guys. We're splitting hairs here. Splitting fucking tortoise shells. In an attempt to put a spring back in Bert's step, his carrier strapped wheels beneath his posterior end, which seems to have done the trick, as he is now more sprightly than previously, particularly in the winter, when cold temperatures trigger his arthritis. Also, he's just like my dad. According to his carers, Bert is the heaviest tortoise ever to be pimped out with a set of wheels, just like my dad.
He injured himself having sex, and
now
he's
different
described,
ladies, man, like a G.
And now he's described as being more sprightly.
Well,
Jesus.
I mean, he probably thinks that he's a fucking badass after that. He's like, I got wheels, man, because I fucked too much.
Look at my fucking wheels.
Like, that's a great story to go down to the bar and be like, hey, man, I'm injured because I had too much fucking pussy.
You think tortoises even call it pussy?
No, because it's not pussy. It's the cloaca.
That's right. They have cloacas, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
That's a lot less fun,
right? We know from experience.
So what? He sprained his leg rubbing his cloaca on the other turtle's cloaca.
Well, no, he's got a dick, but the tortoise, not the turtle, they're different things. he's sticking it up there, man. He's like, ooh, you ever see the videos of them fucking online? It's hilarious. They're just like, ooh, ooh. I think that's what's going on.
No, I haven't watched a lot of turtle porn lately. Gotta get into that.
You know what, man? You clearly haven't lived, D. That's clearly what that says to me.
Yes.
But maybe you'll watch this kind of porn, D. Researchers plan to bring the Caspian tiger back from the dead. This is, again, right up our alley, them bringing fucking prehistoric animals back to life. The Caspian tiger, Panthera tigris virata, is a subspecies of tiger that went extinct back in the 1960s. These beasts, which can weigh more than 136 kilograms, 300 pounds, were among the largest cats to have ever lived. However, a new study in the journal, Biological Conservation, suggests that they can be effectively resurrected, all thanks to another subspecies of tiger found in the mysterious and frigid eastern realms of Russia. An international team of researchers, funded in part by the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, has an ambitious plan to capture a handful of these genetically similar tigers and reintroduce them back to Central Asia. But before we get into this, a little backstory is required. Oh, this is a longer article. The Caspian tiger was effectively doomed the moment that Russia colonized Turkestan, a region, I didn't even know that was a country, a region that includes parts of Russia, Mongolia, China, Kazakhstan, Iraq.
Sounds like the kind of country you would make up if you were writing like the sequel to Team America World Police.
Right? Afghanistan and several other Central Asian nations. But only were their woodland habitats rapidly converted to cropland, but they were hunted by sportsmen and military factions for fun and training purposes. Plenty of wild pigs, their prey, died out during the early 20th century too, due to hunting, natural disasters, and the spread of disease. Curiously, a contemporary genetic analysis of another tiger subspecies, the Siberian variant found in Russia, revealed the two subspecies had diverged from a common ancestor relatively recently. Importantly, the Siberian tiger is still alive, and although classified as endangered, quote-unquote, whatever the hell that means, it can be found roaming the Skittle Allen mountain region in the Primory province in the Russian Far East. The genetic mapping project discovered that the common ancestor of both subspecies colonized Central Asia, blah, blah, blah. However, despite some very small physiological differences, the Caspian and Siberian tigers are now thought by many to be essentially indistinguishable on a genetic level. So why even bring back the fucking Caspian ones? Whatever, we've got the Siberians. We're good, Holmes. Thus,
because the Caspian ones were bigger.
Oh, so we got them. They have to be bigger so they can kill us all. Great. Thus,
yeah.
The extant population in Russia is thought to be a perfect way to breed back the Caspian tiger. A habitable site has already been identified in Kazakhstan, one that could support a population of 100 tigers in the next 50 years. I'm sure the population of people will be very thrilled. The project appears to have the go-ahead from the regional wildlife authorities and government agencies. The types of mammalian prey the tigers would normally hunt, such as deer and wild pigs, need to also be reintroduced to the area, and the water supply in the natural reservoirs needs to be carefully regulated and conserved. It's a lot to do, but it could effectively bring the Caspian tiger back from the dead if they pull it off. So they're gonna clone the Caspian tiger, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. Because if you have a species that died out recently enough that you have plenty of DNA to work with, and you also have a similar enough species that can carry an embryo, then yeah, Bob's your uncle. You just go in there and fucking do it.
So they're like, "Yup, let's bring back some big ass tigers." And again, I'm sure the local population is like, "Great, let's put them right in our backyard." Great. Because it's tigers. Did you get that joke, D?
Yeah. The more my hope is the more species, the more easy to bring back species like this that we practice on, sort of cut our teeth on. Hopefully, the easier it will be when we finally get around to making a dinosaur.
Yeah, I mean now we've got the fucking tail from that fucking amber, so it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah, I just want my damn dinosaur. I just want to be able to go to a zoo and see a fucking dinosaur.
Well, D, do you want to know why you can't?
Sure.
All right, here's another article. How that asteroid killed the dinosaurs. This breaks it down. Are you ready, D? Are you ready to be critically depressed? 1,
big rock hits the earth. 2, go boom.
For the first time, we have a detailed model of what happened to the atmosphere and the climate after the asteroid impact that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. Although dinosaurs were in decline before a giant asteroid made the Chicxulub crater, it is generally accepted that this cataclysm finished them off, yet it hasn't been entirely clear how. Now, a paper in Geophysical Research Letters fills in that gap, definitively, maybe. Probably not, though. Nothing in science is ever definitive. And I doubt that Stephen Lutz, who looks like a filmmaker based on his fucking profile picture, is going to fill that gap for us. We'll see, though. Maybe I underestimate Stephen Lutz. Knowing the location and approximate size of the asteroid of doom, Julia Brugger, a PhD student, maybe sounds a little German, fitting for this podcast. Oh, Colonel Hogan. At the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, used climate simulators to model the atmospheric consequences of forest burning and so much material thrown into the atmosphere. Brugger concluded that sulfates, rather than dust, thrown up by the asteroid impact, did most of the climate damage that killed off the dinosaurs, while other substances quickly rained back down. The sulfur became incorporated aerosols. As with similar material released in volcanic eruptions, these aerosols blocked sunlight from reaching the Earth. With so much material in the skies at once, temperatures plunged. It became cold. I mean really cold. Brugger said in a statement, I love how that's like the one quote they use from her in this fucking whole thing. It became cold. I mean really cold. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
On average, global temperatures dropped 26 degrees Celsius, that's 47 degrees Fahrenheit. So, the way to calculate Celsius to Fahrenheit, I guess, is just to add 21. Is that how that breaks down? Is that universally true? Look it up, D. Look it up while I'm finishing this, and then we can talk about that next. That's science-y. The tropics barely remained above freezing point, and the average global temperature fell below 0 degrees Celsius. That's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so it's not 21. Look up the conversion between Celsius to Fahrenheit, D. I want to know. For around 3 years. The long-term cooling caused by the sulfate aerosols was much more important for the mass extinction than the dust that stays in the atmosphere for only a relatively short time, said co-author Dr. George Fulner, also German-sounding motherfucker. Oh, Colonel Hogan, there's many Germans in this article. It was also more important than local events. Oh, I should read this in a German accent. It was also more important than local events like the extreme heat close to the impact, wildfires, or tsunamis, Colonel Hogan. I just heard a weird noise. That was creepy. Anyway, sorry, it distracted me. It sounded like a weird, like it was a weird, like, high-pitched screech, and I was like, holy shit, is something trying to attack me? Like a fucking... Am I in the middle of a kaiju picture all of a sudden? But where was I? Naturally, the ice caps expanded, and even once the sulfates cleared, all that whiteness continued to cool the planet by reflecting the sunlight back to space. So it seems the idea is that it wasn't just like the direct impact of the meteorite which killed the dinosaurs. It was also the climactic impact and the aerosols that got released into the atmosphere afterwards that took place over like 30 years that really finished them off. So because the dust and everything settled into the atmosphere, so that obviously fucks up the ecosystem and the atmosphere. So the dinosaurs are suffocating and shit, and it's fucking up their food supplies and their habitats. But then you've also got the entire planet cooling over the course of a couple of decades, and that just ruins their environment. Dinosaurs struggle to survive in the cold. Some of them could, and those are the ones that probably died off last, but most of them could not. And their food supplies would die off, and the whole species was just fucked. The planet was fucked, though. Everything died off. But, you know, the dinosaurs were also struggling before that, as this article mentions. If you watch the Walking with Dinosaurs documentary, the last episode is great because it shows that the Earth was already going through some pretty fucking heavy, like, geological problems before the asteroid hit. So that was just kind of the coincidental icing on the cake, so to speak, for fucking over the dinosaurs. There's one bit in that episode of Walking with Dinosaurs towards the end where there's a T-Rex looking for, like, carcasses on the ground, and he finds one that's in, like, this sulfur mine field where there's just, like, pits of sulfur coming out of the ground. And if the T-Rex sticks his head down into the sulfur, he'll suffocate. So he puts his head down to get the fucking prey, the dead carcass, it's not prey, and he starts to get woozy because he doesn't realize what's going on. But then he quickly grabs it and moves off. It always pissed me off, like it always frustrated me because I was like, just do it quicker, you dumb idiot. But I mean, they're 65 million year old animals, so, and also not that that didn't really happen. That's an approximation of animals we've never seen in motion. Anyway, so anything surprise you there, D? Anything you didn't already know?
No, not really.
Yeah, that lines up with a lot of books I read when I was a kid. So fuck this article. Did you find out how to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit?
Yeah, so it's a bit more complicated than you thought.
Oh, great.
Basically, you take the Celsius temperature, and then you times it by 1.8, and then you add 32.
Huh. That is so fucking complicated. Who came up with that? That's why I fucking hate math so much. It's so fucking arbitrary. Like, who was like, oh, well, we're gonna have two different kinds of temperature, and when one of them will be, just like normal, and then the other one will be like this weird fucking like multiplication and addition fucking shit. Like, what the hell?
Now, see what happened. What happened was two different scales for developing temperature were developed, and then once they realized that they needed to convert one to the other, then it became an issue of like, well, how do we convert one to the other? And they basically had to figure it out from there. So it's not like the formula to convert them was conceived from the start. It's more like the formula was come up with as a way to convert from one to the other. Do you know what I mean?
So stupidity arose from human stupidity.
It's like different cultures. It's sort of like how different cultures have different calendars, and then you're like, well, what's that in their calendar? And you're like, I don't fucking know. Like it's like similar to that.
I mean, I guess it's also like language. I mean, whatever. When you were in school, did they beat you over the head with like, oh, we need to learn the metric system and do away with this imperial standard system because nobody else uses it. We should just go metric. Did they beat you over the head with that?
Science classes did, because everything in science is based off the metric system anyway. So
yeah, exactly. My classes beat us over the head with that. Yeah.
Nobody else cared. But,
Do you care? Do you think we should strive to join the metric system? Because I think ultimately it's something that should probably happen at some point.
Well, apparently the metric system is more convenient, and it's more what's the word I'm looking for? Efficient. It's more efficient because everything is based off of multiples of 10, so it's just easier to work with. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it makes sense to change it, but I don't really give a fuck if we do or not. So
you're very consistent with that. Yeah, I mean, I think one day we should.
My lack of giving a fuck.
Yeah, pretty much. One day I think we should probably change it just for the sake of unifying the world and making it easier to communicate. I mean, hell, if we're ever gonna communicate with those, horny ass machine UFO aliens, we should probably get on the same boat as to what fucking temperature it is. Wouldn't you agree?
I could care less about communicating with the rest of the world, but if we're talking about communicating with aliens, yeah, we'd probably better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, D. I mean, and now I got you on my fucking side, don't I? Now I got you to take action. That's how I got to motivate you. I got to inspire you to meet up with some horny ass machine aliens, and that's how I motivate you to do shit. All right, D. So this is an article from the New York Post. Farmers have been secretly feeding cows Skittles. Taste. Oh, this. So this is
good.
So this is the first line. You're gonna love this. Are you ready? I don't know if you're ready for this.
Cows have a hard life. They deserve to taste the rainbow every now and then.
Are you ready for this pun? Taste the rain bovine.
Ugh.
Oh, by the way, this is by Natalie O'Neill at the New York Post, so you can give her credit for that. Hundreds of thousands of red Skittles that spilled on a country road in Wisconsin led cops to discover that farmers have been feeding the candy to cows for years, CNN reported. The sweet treats fell from a truck hauling them to a cattle ranch in Dodge County and were frozen in place earlier this week, police told the station. There's no little S on them, but you can definitely smell. It's a distinct Skittle smell. Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt told CNN affiliate WISM. Cops soon learned farmers use the Skittles and other sweets to fatten up cows because they're cheap carbs, CNN reported. It's a very good way for producers to reduce feed costs and to provide less expensive food to consumers. Keith Fanning, a livestock nutritionist with Great Plains Livestock Consulting, told CNN Money at the time. The sugar-stuffed bovines are linked to a plunge in corn prices around 2012, which made syrup-based candies a cheap source of calories, a former farmer told the CNN affiliate WBay at the time. But some people called the cow's candy diet a bunch of bull. Get it, D? You get that? It's a bunch of bull because they're cows, you know?
Oh, God, this fucking author should be waterboarded.
Absolutely gross, one commenter wrote on the Dodge County Sheriff's Facebook page, which posted detailed info about the practice. Why are we okay with feeding cows Skittles to fatten them up? Know where your meat comes from, people. I hope you all learn something from this, the commenter wrote.
But what's the downside to feeding the cows the Skittles?
I'm going to eat Skittles anyway, so I mean, it just cuts out the middleman.
Why is it a bad thing to feed the cows the Skittles? I don't care what you use to fatten up my burger. I just want my burger.
Yeah.
You know?
But
I don't see the downside.
Do you want to taste the rainbow in your hamburger, though, D?
Why the fuck not? I don't see the downside to this. Apparently they've been doing it forever, and my burgers have tasted just fine. So why the fuck not?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to McDonald's after this. I mean, hell, you can't fucking deny it. I don't care if it fucking tastes like Skittles in there.
Like, if you're one of these fucking vegan nuts, then I can understand why maybe you'd be like, it's so unnatural. But I don't give a fuck. Like,
that's why I did that voice. Another commenter quipped that candy-tinted moo juice can't be all bad. What the fuck? This writer really should be waterboarded. I'm with you now. You know, I'm not a violent man, but, you know, he got me. Strawberry Skittles equals strawberry milk, he wrote.
I've never advocated for torture before, but, yeah.
Okay, here's the opinion of somebody. John Waller, an animal science professor at the this is your hometown, D, the University of Tennessee, said Skittles are a legit meal to feed animals.
That's not my hometown.
It's your home state.
There are two UTs. Neither of them are in my hometown. There's the main UT in Knoxville, and then there's a UT in Memphis.
Well, this is one of them, all right? It's close enough. Think it's a viable diet, Waller told Live Science. It keeps fat material from going out into the landfill, and it's a good way to get nutrients into these cattle. The alternative would be to put the candy in a landfill somewhere. It wasn't immediately clear why all of the Skittles were red. And I guess it's not clear at all because they don't even explain it. Okay.
I mean, he's right, though. Like, what's the downside to this? Somebody explain to me what pissed off about. Like, you know, really, if you want to get technical about it, we should be feeding the cows grass because that's what they're naturally evolved to eat. We started feeding them corn because we found out that fattened them up more. And we wanted bigger, juicier burgers. And now
but then people got all upset with that.
So apparently the next step in cow farming evolution is to feed them Skittles. Well, fucking fine. Feed them fucking... I wish I was a cow now. Fucking
but some people are like, I don't like to eat Skittles because I'm healthy. And they're like, well, you know... And so they don't want to get Skittles indirectly into their bodies through the cows they eat.
But you're not eating the Skittles. You're eating cows that ate Skittles. There's a difference.
I agree with you. Commenter on the New York Post does not. I don't agree with you, Dylan.
The fuck is the problem here? I don't understand.
There's always a problem, D. You know what does?
Hell,
you know what?
Feed the cows burgers if you want to. I don't give a fuck. Just feed them something.
All right. So on to that, from one controversy to another. Fossils of ancient wolf-sized otter discovered in China. This is going to be our last article, by the way.
Turns out ancient otter ate Skittles.
And you can get Skittles indirectly by eating the fossils. Excuse me, I need to know what my fossils were fed when they were alive before I eat them.
Also, did they hear the part about how now the corn costs went down because they don't have to? They're not feeding the cows the corn, so now it's cheaper to get corn. Like, what's the downside?
See, I knew if I brought up something that was closer to home for D, he would get upset. See, I riled him up into being passionate as opposed to just, oh, I don't fucking care about why the dinosaurs went extinct. I know already, man. They went extinct because they weren't as cool as me. It's just...
Yeah. Bill knew that if he wanted to make me mad, he needed to bring up some like vegan bullshit.
Yeah, some hippy dippy shit. All right, DC, do you want to know about the wolf-sized otters? Or are you gonna bitch about the cows more and about the vegans more?
I don't know. We'll see how the mood strikes me. Talk about some otters.
Researchers have uncovered the remains of a giant otter that when alive would have been comparable to the size of a wolf. The fossils belong to a new species of ancient otter, known as Cynomogale melilutra, that lived in freshwater lakes around 6 million years ago. Evidence of the giant otters had been discovered before, but only in the form of a few scattered teeth found in Thailand. The latest find of a complete cranium, mandible, teeth, and other skeletal bits and bobs vastly expands what was previously known about the animals, and gives further indications to the massive size of the species. Currently, the largest living otter species, the giant otters of the Amazon River, reach up to around 1.8 meters, 6 feet, and weigh in at roughly 32 kilograms, 70 pounds. But this ancient otter from China, what?
It's always the fucking Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the most prehistoric area on the planet, man. I mean, that's where prehistoric animals can still live. Just look at the fish in there. I mean, the river dolphins that live in those in the Amazon River, I mean, that's a prehistoric animal, man. Not dinosaurian, but, you know, like, prehistoric mammal.
Not to mention those little spiky fish that swim up your dick when you pee.
I've heard about those, yeah. There's also the river stingrays that they have. Those things are fucking nuts. They're enormous.
Also the sturgeon.
You gotta watch out for the sturgeons. Currently the largest... Oh, I already read this. The researchers were also able to reconstruct the environment in which the otters lived, describing it as swampy, shallow lake with quite dense vegetation, presumably not unlike the forests in which modern giant otters live today. Although swampy seems more in line with the Amazon, which is more in line with like Florida and shit, and not like a normal forest, which I think is interesting. Because smaller otters, I would say you'd find in like the Pacific Northwest, in like New York and shit. Like they're living in like, you know, like a normal forest, not like a fucking like, you know, tropical like fucking swamp and shit, you know. But I think the bigger the animal, they'd be more able to live in a swamp because they wouldn't have as much competition with reptiles and fish and everything, you know.
You'd think so, yeah.
I'd like to see stuff like this brought back too, though. This shit is always fucking awesome. I'm just scanning through these articles here. Oh, D, there's one more thing we have to talk about. They created a human pig chimera embryo. Did you hear about this?
I did. I posted this on my Facebook timeline. I was very excited.
What do you know about it?
That they did it.
You don't know. You just read the headline, didn't you? You didn't read the article.
Yeah, I didn't have time that day.
All right, well, here you go. We're gonna get into it real quick.
I was looking at Facebook on my phone. I saw the headline. I shared it. I was like, I hope they're delicious, and then I moved on with my day.
Well, all right, we'll find out. Oh man, full article. Oh, that wasn't the full article. Oh, you know, this one's way longer. It's not that long though. All right, Stephen Luntz again. Are you ready? This is IFL Science still. The world is
Stephen
a little.
That prick you don't like?
Yeah, I don't like this guy. Oh, no, this is not Ben Taub. Ben Taub is the guy I don't like. Stephen Luntz is fine. The world is a little closer to one of the ethical dilemmas we have put off thinking about. Embryos have been produced combining DNA from pigs and humans to make a so-called chimera. They were allowed to develop for weeks before being destroyed. Almost certainly, such chimeric embryos will soon go further, but technical challenges have made their formation harder than scientists expected. Chimeras are organisms formed from two fertilized cells or zygotes, particularly... we know this already. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. The idea strikes many as horrendous. So the announcement in Cell of the successful creation of pig-human chimera embryos serves as a wake-up call that we can't put off thinking much longer about whether this is something we should do. The efforts of lead investigator Professor Juan Carlos Espuza Belmont, man, he's got a long fucking name. I don't like that dude.
Best fucking name I've ever heard. Juan Carlos Espuza Belmont.
Yeah, right? Of the Salk Institute, Salk, not Sock, the Salk Institute, and his team have showed that the obstacles are not just ethical. The ultimate goal is to grow functional and transplantable tissue and organs, but we are far away from that, Belmont said in a statement. This is an important first step. So they want to grow human-pig hybrids, that way they can harvest the human-pig hybrids for, like, human organs. That's fucked up. See, that's the ethical dilemma.
That's a great concept, though. We're already using pigs for organs, so why the fuck not?
But how human are they, though, D? That's the question that people will that's the debate that people will get into. See, now I've riled up your other passion, your diet.
And then we can use the pig mention as slaves.
Oh, yes, Colonel Hogan. We can wrangle them up and have them working in the camps.
Yes, we can use them to build the Empire State Building like the Daleks.
Oh shit, that's right. I forgot about that. God damn, that's a horrible two-parter. Anyway.
Pretty bad. How did they fuck up pig people? How did you do that, Doctor?
Yeah, that was bizarre. Fucking Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield was in that. Although the team eventually managed to get intermediate human pluripotent stem cells to form a chimera within a porcine embryo, the product was more pig than man. The authors, that sounds like a sci-fi tagline, the more pig than man. The authors
man.
Just like Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man, in that Doctor Who episode. The authors consider this a good thing, since many of the biggest ethical issues would arise with the creation of a creature with a human-like brain. So I guess that's it. If it doesn't have a human-like brain, it's just got the organs that aren't the brain. I guess that's okay. I mean, I know that all of this is okay with you, even if it walks and talks. You'll be like, I'll still eat it. But I would be like, oh no, it has emotions. Oh no.
Well, technically, most of the animals you eat have emotions. They just don't express them.
Exactly. As long as it can't talk to me, I'll eat it. That's fine.
Like your hamburger had hopes and dreams, Bill.
No, it didn't. Cows don't have. You know what? No, I disagree with you. Cows don't feel that way. They're fucking retarded. I couldn't eat a cat.
It had the hope and dream.
It did to not get eaten. Cows are fucking brain dead. They don't do anything. They live they don't have the need for intelligence. They just eat and shit. They barely even fuck.
Don't you think it takes a little bit of motivation in order to eat and shit?
But they're not like a cat or a dog or a reptile where they just like they have an intelligence and a spunk and a passion. I don't know.
Okay, you know what? Cow, bad example. Pigs though, pigs are pretty intelligent for farm animals.
I will agree that pigs are on shakier ground than cows for me. I don't eat pork as much as I do cow meat. But bacon, I mean, bacon is a staple of my life, though. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I would ever give up pork. It'd be impossible.
So much bacon on the regular. Poor people who can't eat bacon for bullshit.
God, you know what? Thank God, like, eggs aren't really like animals, though, because I can never give those up either. Like, if I ever did have to give up all my, all my meats or whatever even if like a health reason or whatever. Thank God we have eggs, because that's not really a meat, because there's no animal in there. It's just protein.
Yeah.
That's what some people don't understand. You're not killing a chicken to eat an egg. It's not fertilized, so there's no chicken in there.
All you're doing is using genetic material that could have potentially become a chicken.
You're basically eating bird cum, in a way.
In an odd way, yes.
So anyway. So, D, I know your stomach will be disappointed by this, but the embryos were destroyed after 3 to 4 weeks, having demonstrated their viability to that point. The authors are working on inserting specific human genes into subsequent chimeras, as done with the rat and mouse predecessors, to make more human organs.
I theorize that these chimeras, if allowed to go to term, would be delicious, because 1, pigs, most delicious creature on the planet. 2, humans. Now, I'm not a cannibal, but a lot of cultures have been cannibals over time. There's certain serial killers have been cannibals. For so many people to have tried cannibalism, it can't taste bad. That's all I'm saying. So, you combine the two.
You sound like Louis C.K. on fucking pedophilia, where it's like there's a lot of there's a lot of people who are doing a lot of really there's a lot of people going through a lot of tough shit just to fuck a kid. So it's got to be good.
It's the same thing though, because next to pedophile, I would imagine that cannibal is probably the second worst thing you can probably do.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. If they put you in jail for it, the people will beat you up.
Actually, you know what? I guess it depends on your sensibilities. One might be worse than the other. Like, I don't know. You might meet somebody who thought that cannibalism was worse or creepier than pedophilia. I don't know. They're kind of in an even ground in that regard, I think. Sexually, pedophilia is obviously the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Jeffrey Dahmer did both of these things.
Yeah, you know all about those serial killers. Anyway, so D, that is going to do it for the scientific penultimate episode of the Demons from Outer Space. What a wild ride, am I right? We covered a lot that episode. That was awesome. I had a good time. Did you?
Oh yeah, we talked about fucking bullshit and Skittles.
See, it's where we talked about so much, it's hard to remember specifics.
Pig people.
Yeah, we talked about pig people, D. That's the thing I'll remember the most. Is talking about the ethics of eating pig people.
Maybe we should breed cow people instead, to satisfy your fucking sensibilities of they're too human-y.
I mean, I never said I was gonna give up pork. I mean, I just. Hey man, if you give me some human bacon, I'm not saying I won't try it.
Look, 50 years from now, when we're living in...
That's a great way to end this podcast. I'm not saying I won't try human bacon.
Let me float you this hypothetical, okay? 50 years from now, we're living in this crazy like Futurama world, or maybe given the track of the current administration, maybe it's more like Idiocracy. But regardless, you're at your fucking space dinnies, and then they're like, "Would you like to try some pig people bacon today?" Do you say no?
Pig people bacon. I'd probably try it. If they had it, I would probably try it.
Yeah, like, I mean, if is
it like is this like a secret underground Denny's, or is this like a thing that everybody can order right off the menu?
You know, it's just pig people. Everybody's lost their hang-ups by this point. It's just pig people.
I would try it. I would definitely try it.
Yeah. I mean, I want an omelet.
How do these pig people live? Are they like living in society and they're pulled off the street and fucking turned into bacon? Or are they like being raised in a lab and they don't really think or live a life or anything? They just kind of get produced and get turned into bacon.
Well, you know, some of them are sort of living in sort of a farm type situation, obviously, because that's where your pig bacon would come from. Others of them are being raised in a lab environment because those are the ones that we are harvesting for organs. And then the rest of them who are bred to be slightly more intelligent are basically the apes from Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
So they're slaves,
essentially.
Have you taken over this world? Because this sounds like your ideal world.
I mean,
you have organs to sustain your immortal life. You have bacon. You have fucking slaves. I mean, it's this sounds like your ideal world to me, D.
I mean, why do you think I'm so for these big people?
Makes a lot of sense. I'm really glad I tapped into your passion in this episode. I don't always do that with the science episodes. Sometimes D kind of gets lost in the shuffle with the science episodes. It's just me reading shit. But I really captured your imagination this time, I think.
Let's make people great again.
Oh, absolutely. All right, D. Well, I think that's going to do it for the penultimate 99th episode of the Demons from Outer Space. But D, I already told you what we're doing next time. Are you confident enough in your knowledge of it to announce what we will be doing on the 100th episode of the Demons from Outer Space?
No, but I'll do it anyway. So next week it's going to be one of our Wouldn't It Be Fucking Interesting If segments, which we've done, what, 2 of up to this point?
Yes.
Or have we only done one?
I think we've only done 2. Yeah, we did the Dragon Ball Evolution one, and we did the Goku Superman switcheroo.
That's right, I forgot about the Evolution one. Well, this one is not Dragon Ball related in the slightest.
Wow, what a big change up! Woo!
No, because we've been doing this for 100 episodes, we're going back to our roots a little bit. As you all know, the title of this podcast, or you might not know this actually, but I'm about to learn you. The title of this podcast comes from the German title of the film Godzilla vs. Megalon, which was hilariously titled King Kong and the Demons from Outer Space. And the idea behind that, assumedly, was that Jet Jaguar was King Kong in a robot suit, I guess. So the concept of the next episode of DFOS, the wouldn't it be fucking interesting if segment is, what if Jet Jaguar was King Kong in a robot suit?
Wouldn't it be fucking interesting if Jet Jaguar was King Kong in a robot suit? Now we're going to do
if
this.
You're sitting out there and thinking, not really. Well, let's stick around. Maybe it will be.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out, won't we? We're going to do a little research. We're going to write some shit down, just like we always do. It should be fun. Also, throw out some suggestions in the comments, and maybe we'll read them out if you've got any ideas on what that would entail. So we're going to break this down into two segments. We're going to do the actual film as it stands. We're going to take the film Godzilla vs. Megalon and kind of rewrite it to as it stands, like because the only way the German version could possibly explain this is through the translations, through the words, and I guess through some light editing maybe. But you didn't have a lot to work with to emphasize this idea that Jet Jaguar was King Kong. So we're going to do that first. We're going to take the movie and basically have it happen, but it's King Kong in that suit. And then what we'll do is we're going to reboot the character of Jet Jaguar from scratch and conceive him as King Kong in a robot suit in a newly conceived world that we can kind of start from the ground up as opposed to working with the skeletal structure of Godzilla vs. Megalon. So that'll be next time. That'll be our celebration of 100 episodes of the Demons from Outer Space. So throw your recommendations for what King Kong in a robot suit being Jet Jaguar could actually mean practically in the comments of this video. Hit us up on Facebook on the Sons of Sarazawa Network homepage. Tag us in Toku Legion on Facebook. That's our group that we run. You can tag us there with your suggestions. You can hit me up on Twitter at Bill_Worster if you want to give me your suggestion there. Or I'm Billy Worster on Facebook if you want to hit me up on there. So if you want to find me there as well, you can find me there. I can't wait. Should be fun. Can't wait for the 100th episode of Demons from Outer Space. It's crazy, man. We've been doing this for 100 episodes and 3 years now too. Longer than that. I think technically 4 now, but we didn't celebrate our 3rd anniversary.
4 years, really?
I think we've been doing it since 2013, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you might be right. But like late 2013.
Yeah, like October 2013, but I think 2013 nonetheless, yeah. So since we haven't celebrated our annual anniversary in a while, this will also kind of serve as that, so definitely. Should definitely be a big fun celebration. Anyway, so that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Demons from Outer Space. Until next time, I'm Bill Worster, a.k.a. Zazabar.
And I'm Super DM64.
And we hope to see you for the 100th episode, kids. But we won't be seeing you because it's a podcast, Colonel Hogan. Ooh, them Germans, they be fucked up.